Okay, so since you find my knowledge of Halo lore so funny, here's the entire history of the Halo series. So long ago, the precursors were the dominant species in the galaxy, but they needed to select another species to take the mantle of responsibility, which is a thing. The precursors choose the ancient humans, which makes the Forerunners jealous. So the Forerunners start genociding the precursors. So the remaining precursors turn themselves into space dust, which they can do for some reason. Anyway, thousands of years later, the humans find old ships of theirs controlled completely autonomously crashed somewhere, and they find the precursor space dust and feed it to their dogs anyway. After a few centuries of feeding corrupted space dust to their dogs, they begin to develop mutations and eventually start cannibalizing each other. After a few more centuries, this transfers to humans, and they start doing the same. So ancient humanity are in quite a dire situation, as dozens of human planets have been taken over by the infection. So they flee their area of space, going into Forerunner territory. But the Forerunners see this as an act of war, so the humans are now in between the Forerunners and the Flood, and are fighting both. Good news though, the humans find a way to defeat the Flood, but at a heavy cost. Ancient humanity sacrificed a 1/3 of their entire population, and gave them a disease that would kill the Flood after consuming them. So the humans defeated the Flood, but not really. The Flood just retreated deeper into space. But the human Forerunner war continued, and the Forerunners, having far better technology, won. As punishment, humanity was devolved to the Stone Age, and placed back on Earth, at the time called Ere de Trien. Fast forward 12,000 years, and the Flood have slowly been returning for centuries, taking out planets on the outskirts of Forerunner space. At this point, 300 Forerunner planets have been consumed by the Flood, but it's not much concern because there are over 3 million Forerunner planets. But the Forerunners are still working to defeat the Flood, and Faber, the Master Builder, is making a weapon to defeat the Flood by killing everything else in the galaxy and removing the Flood's food. This is the only way they know how to defeat the Flood, because the humans refused to tell them before the end of their war how they defeated them. So over the next thousands of years, the Flood become a bigger and bigger threat, with the Flood consuming hundreds of thousands of Forerunner planets, and eventually, the Forerunner AI, Mendicant Bias, the smartest AI ever made, is give control of the entire Forerunner military. And then, after interrogating the Primordial, the last surviving precursor for 43 years, Mendicant Bias decides that the Flood are the next step in evolution, and betrays the Forerunners. After that, the Forerunners develop another contender-class AI, Offensive Bias, who is now in control of the Forerunner military. Because Offensive Bias knows the Forerunners cannot win, it staged a final battle, which was actually a distraction for the Didact, the former commander of the Forerunner military, to fire the Halos, the only weapons that can defeat the Flood. So after distracting the Flood and making Mendicant Bias think it would win as the odds were 3 million to 1, the Halo array was fired, and all life in the galaxy was killed. Years later, Forerunner Sentinels reseeded the galaxy, brining every life form previously existing back to their homeworlds, excluding themselves and the Flood. 100,000 years later, a war occurs between the Sangheili and Sanshium. The two species both worship the Forerunners as gods, but the Sanshium use Forerunner technology, and the Sangheili see that as heresy. So they have a long war, which eventually ends in an alliance between the two, known as the Covenant. Over time, the Covenant gain more species in their alliance, including the Jirohanai, Kid Yar, Ungoi, and Legolo. In 2517, Dr. Catherine Halsey is given resources by the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, to develop super soldiers to fight against insurgency in the outer colonies. She thinks the perfect Solider must be trained from a young age, so she kidnaps 150 of the very best genetically gifted 6-year-olds across human-controlled space. This is called the Spartan 2 program. Of those, 150 only 48 survived augmentations, with 11 of the 48 being crippled by them. In 2525, humanity and the Covenant make first contact when Kid Yar scavengers find a cargo ship and trace it back to Planet Harvest. The prophet hierarchs of truth, mercy, and regret discover the Forerunners choose humans as the true inheritors of the mantle after they realize their mistakes and the consequences of them. Learning this and wanting to keep their power, the prophets, Sanshium, declare war on humanity, claiming they're a blasphemous race that must be eliminated to start the Great Journey. The Covenant believe that activating the Halo rings is actually a path to godhood. Anyway, humanity loses colony after colony to the Covenant until in 2552, they find Reach, the military center of humanity. Before the planet is glassed, Dr. Halsey creates the smartest AI humanity ever created, Cortana. That AI is escorted to the Pillar of Autumn by what remains of Noble Team. The ship flees the planet and is followed by a dozen Covenant ships. While trying to escape using random slipspace jumps, the Pillar of Autumn accidentally stumbles upon Alpha Halo. This is where the first Halo game begins. The Pillar of Autumn crash lands on Alpha Halo after suffering damages. While on the installation Spartan S-117, the Master Chief runs into the monitor of the installation, 343 Gitley Spark, who informs him he needs to activate the rings, as it's revealed the Flood is on the ring and must be contained. But when Cortana realizes activating the ring will kill them all, so Master Chief refuses to activate the ring, making 343 upset and hostile. Master Chief, realizing no one is left of the crew of the Pillar of Autumn, and there being 3 hostile factions with him on the ring, decides to overheat the nuclear reactor of the Pillar of Autumn, the blast of which would destroy the ring, eliminating all of Chief's problems. He destroys the ring and escapes. Following these events, Thel Vadam, the supreme commander of the fleet of particular justice, is stripped of his rank and branded heretic for his failure to protect the sacred ring. He becomes the Arbiter. Soon after, the Prophet Hierarch Regret accidentally discovers Earth and begins the Battle of New Mombasa. The Prophet's ship enters slipspace, and the UNSC trapped in amber follows. The two ships arrive at Delta Halo, and Master Chief beats the old man in the wheelchair, Prophet of Regret, to death before jumping into a lake. Afterward, Master Chief and Thel Vadam, now the Arbiter, are both taken by the Gravemind, a hive mind central intelligence of the Flood. He sends them both to different locations to do some shit. After the death of the Prophet of Regret, the Prophets give the position of the elites, Sangheili, to the brutes, Jirohanai. This sparks the beginning of a civil war within the Covenant. Then some shit happens, and the Covenant Holy City High Charity is consumed by the Flood, along with the Prophet of Mercy. The elites have left the Covenant and allied themselves with humanity. Tartarus, chieftain of the brutes, is killed by the Arbiter, and Master Chief hitches a ride back to Earth on a Forerunner Dreadnought, the Prophet of Truth's capital ship. Sergeant Johnson and the Arbiter regroup with Chief and do some more shit. At this point, the Flood is on Earth, and as a favor, shipmaster Urtas Vadam commands his ships to glass half of Africa to prevent the Flood from spreading. Then Chief and Arbiter go to the Ark, where the entire Halo array was constructed, and the Arbiter kills the Prophet of Truth. They then go to the control room of a replacement Halo for Alpha Halo, and try to fire it to destroy the Flood. Guilty Spark wouldn't let them, as firing the ring would destroy the only partially constructed ring. After they try to do it by force, course, Sergeant Johnson is killed by Guilty Spark, and Guilty Spark is then destroyed. Chief and Arbiter then escape the ring in a cool-ass final mission. They make it onto the UNSC Forward unto dawn, but there's a slip space rupture, and the ship is split in half, the Arbiter landing into an ocean on Earth, being recovered and officially ending the Human Covenant War, and Chief drifting into space, going into cryosleep for 4 years. During this time, the Arbiter tries to take control of the Sangheili home planet, Sanghelos. This period was called the Bloody Years. By the time Chief wakes up, he has drifted near a Forerunner shield world, Requiem. Shield worlds were the original plan to counter the flood before the creation of the Halos. Cortana wakes up Chief because of Covenant ships nearby. These are Jewel Madama's ships, the leader of the largest Covenant remnant. Anyway, for some reason everyone gets sucked into Requiem along with the UNSC Infinity, the largest ship ever built by humanity at 6 kilometers long. Anyway, then the Didact, a 120,000-year-old, 13 feet tall Forerunner warrior servant, is awoken from his cryptum because I don't know, and he doesn't like humanity, and Jewel Madama worships him, so they ally and then shit happens, and then the Didact composed a research station, vaporizes some people making their souls digital and making them into fucking robots and shit, and then Master Chief plants a fucking nuke in the Didact's chest, and then Cortana dies because she thought too much. Then Master Chief is reunited with Blue Team, his squad of Spartan 2s and childhood friends. Then Agent Locke kills Jewel Madama in a gay-ass cutscene. Jewel deserved a way better death than that fuck you Locke anyway. Then Cortana's actually alive, and she's taking control of the Guardians, other Forerunner things hidden within planets to keep galactic peace. Anyway, now she's the biggest threat. Maybe, I don't know, Flutter's still around. Chief has new armor, and there's a new Halo ring A, it's broken shit. I don't know, Infinite doesn't come out for another year. Anyway, that was fun for a while, but was ultimately unworth it. I'm tired as shit. I did that for 3 fucking hours. Jesus fuck, it's not even that good of a joke. I'm not sure it is a joke. Fuck me.